John joins us now. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here, Cameron, and I salute you and your crew for doing this show. We need to hear more about this issue, a lot more.
As I said before, God forbid my child was missing, I would want it to be wall-to-wall coverage. Anyone would. But the media, as it's described, seems to pick and choose who is the priority. And I've been in newsrooms and I still don't understand it. What do you see as the problem, John?
Well, I've been talking about this for 35 years. And, people always say, well, it's the cops. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to take the report. I'll never forget when Adam was missing and I was standing at the Sears Mall in Hollywood, Florida with my wife. And a cop came in a black and white car and told us, most kids are runaways and 99% of them show up. They come back. And I went, Adam's a 6-year-old boy. I always used to say, you sign the death warrant of a kid when you decide you write on there it's a runaway. So we've been working on that for 35 years. But along the way, I started to realize that the media was the real problem. And you just said it. It's always about Elizabeth Smart. It was about Adam Walsh, little blonde boy, family prominent in the community. Ed Smart, $2 million home, Elizabeth taken from that. JonBenét Ramsey from a wealthy neighborhood. So the media put the spin on it. Well, if it happens to these people, it could happen to anybody. In the ghetto, everybody's in trouble. And, they just probably decided to run away. But, these little blonde kids and these blonde adults, they live in in Beverly Hills and they live in the Hamptons. It's PAC reporting. One outlet gets on it, and Gabby Petito happened to be, chronicling everything on social media. That's what picked that story up, was social media did. But it's PAC reporting, Tamara, and we got to educate people that it doesn't matter. And I've been showing pictures of missing adults and missing kids of color for 35 years now. And the media has got to realize that they have a big responsibility to be just as fair to people of color that don't have the resources that people like me or Ed Smart have to look for their children.
Let me ask you, though, you were a part of the coverage, though. I remember turning on one of the cable news networks and you were on. Why did you feel the need to join in and report on Gabby Petito's story?
Because I didn't get into that story until a body was found. You know what I do. I hunt down the dirtbags of the world. I've caught more guys than any cop in the history of America, and I'm not bragging because my posse is the public. My army is the public. I've caught 1,422 guys in 45 countries. So once they found the body, I jumped in. I wanted to catch Brian Laundrie.
When I walk in a newsroom as a reporter, when I was a reporter, you walk in and there were assignments that day. And someone says, okay, the news director usually, this is the story. We're looking into this. This mom or dad has come forward or called and said their daughter is missing. For whatever, a litany of reasons, it rises to the top of the list. But we clearly know that at some point in time, it's in the back of someone's mind that that person, the white victim, will be more relatable and it will matter more. When I got in this business, they would say things like, if it bleeds, it leads. And I would be so resentful when I heard news directors say that. Weight stories, if it's weight, it rates, because all that they felt women wanted to talk about in daytime were diet. These tropes and these memes continue. But this is 2021, John Walsh. People know it's wrong and they know our audiences are not going to put up with it. But here we are again having the conversation. Does a white life matter more when the person is missing?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Your wonderful staff was talking about old video. They saw me criticizing the Cleveland police when the 3 women were in the House of Horrors for not doing an Amber Alert on on one of the little girls. Gina DeJesus was 14 years old, but they didn't do the Amber Alert on her because she was Hispanic. And they said a lot of Hispanic kids run away. So why do an Amber Alert? We got to change these attitudes. Most of the population's white. In these newsrooms, they love hurricanes. They love anything that gets them viewers.
What role do you think social media will play in these missing persons cases and making sure, though, that they represent the breadth of people who are missing?
social media is a great way to find people. I catch bad guys on social media all the time, but it's also a very dangerous place to be. But listening to all these people, I wanted to say one thing. It took me 27 years to solve my own son's murder. My wife and I had to start the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and it took us 30 years to get 17 federal agencies there, 450 people. We looked at 600 million images of child pornography because the law enforcement doesn't want to do it. The media needs to step up to the plate. The media and the government. We have so many missing adults in this country. And I think it's time for somebody in Congress to get going and create a national funded private sector and the government, like our National Center is, looking for adult people. We only look for 18 and under. Nobody looks for anybody over 18 years old, and nobody cares about missing adults. And you only got to hear these mothers that were on here today and these ladies that were on here today. Unfortunately, it's up to families to keep the story going, to keep badgering the media to do it. But I think it's way overdue for somebody in Congress and somebody in the private sector to say, enough is enough. We need a center for missing adults. We don't care what color they are.
John, thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, we've run into each other, are behind the scenes covering these stories. I know how much they matter to you, and I appreciate you joining me today.
Glad to do it.
And the season 3 finale of In Pursuit with John Walsh airs on Wednesday at 10 on ID and streams on Discovery Plus.